All right. Well, this is a subject that is dear to me and a subject that I've been looking at for a lot of years, almost a couple of decades, when I came into understanding energy and energy work and moving in that direction to develop the modalities that we call energetics. So energy is currency. Are you investing wisely? Is the subject that I want you to take with you this morning to contemplate for your life and to be mindful and aware. First, we need to understand energy, right? You need to understand how to use energy. And again, energy is currency. You give your energy to specific people, places, things, ideas, feelings, beliefs, fears, etc. You invest your energy in the way you invest your money. I'm going to give you two scriptures that I thought was good out of Proverbs. He who walks with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall suffer harm. Proverbs 22:24 says, make no friendship with wrathful mankind, and with mankind given to anger you shall not go, lest you learn his ways and find a stumbling block to your soul. What this is actually telling us is to be mindful of our environment and how does it enter into a relationship with where we are in life's experience and on the path toward higher enlightened consciousness. That it's important to realize that everything being energy and everything being vibration means that we're in continuous experience of how we're matching with all our environment that is around us on a vibrational frequency level. Our spiritual inner qualities, such as insight, intuition, vision, imagination, is all there in us right now. Again, and I repeat this over and over, but we must continuously remind ourselves and each other that we are not a people of lack. We do not come from lack. We do not see there's a piece of pie and there's so many pieces, and if you get a piece, I have less. If I have the recipe to apple pies, I can have all the apple pie I want. And sometimes we're missing the recipe to life, a recipe that we can always draw on in the sense of abundance. So we know that what dwells within us is our inner treasures, and that is that innate ability to intuit, to find higher guidance, to have a feeling. And as in the meditation, I thought was such an important, if I go into a public place today and I do not feel I'm in resonance with it, I'm going to, yes, protect myself, but sometimes it says, leave. And I'll get out of a movie and I will go. And I think that's the way you're going to keep yourself going through this time, that we are not living in the safest America that many of us have grown up in. That we must be very intuitive and develop that intuition and guidance within us to be in the right place at the right time. You don't want to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, but you want to stay in synchronization with your highest good. How many of you remember Russell Conwell's great famous book, Acres of Diamonds? It's a great lesson in that. It was about an Asian farmer who, his farmlands were rocky and they weren't of much good in the shape that they were in. And he decided to sell it because he saw no future in what he saw. But it turned out to be one of the richest diamond mines ever discovered. How many of us judge ourselves as not being special enough, smart enough, not knowing the right people, or just having what it takes? Each one of us sitting in our own acres of diamonds may be diamonds in the rough. How many understand how diamonds are found? They're not found as sparkling, beautiful diamonds that you see in your jewelry or in a jewelry store. They're found and they're very like coal almost, in a dark substance, and they have to be heated. And that burns all of the dross out and only leaves the purity of the diamond. And you know, sometimes I feel like we go through the fire, but the fire is only burning out the dross, the hay, wood, and stubble, and it's leaving those things that are really of value to us. So going through the fire is a wonderful process of cleansing ourselves of those things that are no longer serving us. Most of us are sitting on a treasure trove of inner assets that can be directly correlated to the material world. Now, when you make an energetic investment, you ask yourself, is this going to pay off? Because if it's not, you're going to be wasting vital energy. You want your energetic investments to feed your energy and to help multiply it. If your investments multiply, then you can invest in new things. My mother, when she passed away, was wonderful to leave me a little bit of inheritance. In today's economy, it's not much. At the time that we planned it, 20, 30 years ago, it seemed like it was going to be a good way in which to make sure I have a little bit of security. But in today's world, it's not. But what I have, I've handed over to an investment company out of Columbus, Ohio, where we lived. And it is based upon their ability to invest that money, whether if I make any interest on it. So I wanted to give it to the best. I don't know if I did, but I tried to find the best people that I felt a connection with before I turned over that money to them. That's a big risk, to turn something over to people and give them the power to invest it themselves. You want to know where you are and what you're doing when you do that, if you have any investment. But it's important to realize that that little bit of money is there to be invested in a way that it's going to make money. And what's tied to the Dow, which is very much in the negative these days, is not making much money. But other parts of it that didn't make it in to be invested in that, but went in places to be invested in which was not tied to the Dow, is doing much different than that part of the money. So sometimes you want to be diverse in how that you distribute your money. If you aren't aware of your energetic investments, then you quickly deplete your energy account. You make an energetic investment every time you, one, take something to be true. Make yourself responsible for something. Dwell on something. Are afraid of something. And on it goes. So what you qualify into your world as a reality is the direction in which you're going to invest energy. Now we might say in New Thought, thoughts, attitudes, feelings, but actually all of that is energy. It's just energy. So it's important that we become conscious as to where we're going to put our investments energetically so we don't deplete our energy account. I have taught this in Soma Energetics for 20 years. In fact, it was the cornerstone of Soma Energetics. As a young man, was drug around from one tent revival to the next tent revival in Oklahoma, Oral Roberts and all the big tent revivals of the 50s, that's what people did. They weren't on their phones. There wasn't that much on television, so people went to revivals. That was a part of what people did in those days. And sometimes these revivals would go for weeks, and we would go. But as a young man with a different rapport of time and space, seeing things differently, I just couldn't figure out why people healed and other people did not heal. I just couldn't figure it out. I just wondered. And of course, my concept of the God out there, a God out there that was no respecter of persons, that didn't work for me, because I said, you are. Why would you heal some, and I'm watching other people praying and begging you for healing, and they're getting nothing? And it just planted a seed in my mind. It put me on a quest to try to understand this whole thing of why some people easily heal. And then when I got into more metaphysical thinking, it wasn't so much about just healing, but it was about manifesting. I couldn't figure out why everybody was running constantly to prosperity, abundant workshops, and yet was in constant lack and could barely make their rent or their car payment, but was struggling financially. But they had all the right principles about abundance, but yet they were not manifesting abundance. So it remained a part of my thinking. Why do some people easily manifest and others don't? The first realization was the fact that something is happening on the recipient part of this thing. In other words, that they had something to do with what they were receiving. It wasn't just up to some separate God out there who was choosing to do this with one and not with another, but it's actually, and of course the biblical point of view would be, according to thy faith, so be it unto you. So we had a part in co-creating our experiences in some way. When I got into energy work and sound work a few decades ago, what I realized, and by combining creation with more an evolutionary point of view, which, as you know, I call a creation or a crelution point of view of bringing them together, I began to realize on an evolutionary side of this thing that human beings had only evolved into a level based upon the survival of the human race. We have felt very much a part of, for instance, passing our genes down to our offspring and surviving through generations of those who came after us. And we have pretty much looked at that as a way of our immortality in an evolutionary point of view. And then I begin to realize that in the level in which we have reached as a evolutionary human is at the level of the kind of middle part of the evolutionary process, from infancy to adolescence to co-creative spiritual adult, that we were kind of in the last stages of our adolescent stage. And there's always that overlapping of stages in which one stage is ending but a new stage is beginning. And you can all relate to this if you stop and think back to your own life. And if you can't think that far back, look at your children's life. And if your children are a little older, look at your grandchildren's life. But you will see as they're growing up and going through these stages that it's challenging and complicated to be too old for this and too young for that. That's all you hear as an adolescent. You're too old to do this, you can't go do that, and you're too young, you can't do that, you're too old, you need to be doing this. And it's not an easy time to kind of find out really who you are in the scheme of growing up into taking more responsibility for your life. And I see this on a spiritual level, that as we're moving from being just infants in spirituality into adult, trying to grow up into the fullness of the stature and become responsible co-creative aspects of the divine in the human experience that is here to co-create a new direction and a new destiny for all of us. So what I came up with, that basically human beings have had enough energy to survive most everything that they've encountered. The history of humanity, the story of humanity, based upon famine, wars, and all the injustices that's been done in the world, has survived them all. Famines, you name it. We are still here as a species, and we have really survived a lot of horrible things that have come our way through history. But we mustn't stop and say, this is my destiny, is survival of the species. The teacher came along and said to those who were just in a living state, surviving, I come to give you life and more abundantly. So he was offering a whole different level of what it means to be alive on the planet, from moving from the living as a being, because anything that lives dies. What doesn't die is life. Life continues. But we live, we die, and maybe if you believe it, you live and you die again, however your belief is about that. But whether it's one time or 1,000 times, if you have been made alive, you're most likely looking at death as a part of the cycle of life as we know it in the third dimension. So as I begin to contemplate this through the times, I begin to realize that studying some of the quantum ideas and a little bit of Einstein, Max Planck, and some of the early fathers of quantum thinking that was challenging a lot of our Newtonian old thinking that is more based in time and space and this and that, and more linear thinking that if I'm here and I don't have something, then it does not exist, and I need to get there because it's there that it exists. And this has been kind of the carrot before the horse thing, where the horse can never get to the carrot. And that's what I have noticed in the 50 years of my experience of trying to walk a spiritual path, is how many times I thought this is it. I would find a new revelation. I would find a new group of people. I would find a new mindset that would fit me and resonate at that time. And I would think, I've arrived. I found it. Only to find something even greater. A new book, a new way of thinking, a new aha in my life that let me know I had not arrived anywhere as I thought I had. That I was on this continuous path of ever changing, ever growing, ever creating itself to higher states of consciousness. But one of the things that I was very touched by was studying some of those, especially Tesla, who discovered that actually we were living in a world of free energy. That energy was not a limited resource. Of course, this man was totally discredited, to say it in a nice way, stripped of all of his great discoveries and knowledge because of the greed that was setting itself up in America at that time through the Rockefellers and others who wanted to put a price on everything. And the word free was the last word they wanted to hear. That there was a free, inexhaustible resource of anything. And even as we see God as a source, that is a source that is totally unlimited, you see how religion has done the same thing that the oil companies have done, and the electric companies, and all of those who have taken the power away from the people in the sense of having to sell us that which is in abundance by making us believe there's such a lack of it that they can put a price on it and make it more valuable to us. And I begin to realize, and I use this little example all the time, that this little fish is swimming around and it doesn't know it's in water. So the little fish is on a quest of finding the water. I am determined I'm going to find water in this lifetime. So it's swimming around, searching, going from here to there. And finally a little enlightened fish comes along and says, you know what? You're in the water. And I feel the same way about us. We think that we live mostly in empty space. We see that the illusion, even today, this morning, is that I'm here, Connie is there, Marvin is there, and between us is all this empty space. But if we could open our eye of enlightenment, we would see a completely different picture. We would see that energy from our hearts especially is going back and forth and interconnecting with each other in this room. If our eyes could be open and we could see energetically in this room, we would see something that would totally amaze us, in the sense that we are like that little fish in an ocean of energy and possibility right now. That there is no lack. The only lack is in manifesting what we already have. And therefore, this is what we're trying to do and teach here. So, I tell people when I do a tuning or I do a class, I tell them that every one of you could take out your checkbook, if you still have a check at all, and write me a check for any amount that you want. Let's just say that you want to really bless this community and you're going to write a $10,000 check. But it's not the check. It's what backs up the check that makes the difference. So if you don't have the $10,000 invested in the bank, the check is going to get insufficient fund. And this is why anyone who does not receive a healing or receive a manifestation, it's not that you're being rejected, it's just there is not enough energy behind what you're trying to manifest and create. And therefore, it comes out energetically in insufficient fun. So we have to realize that we have to be one wise at the energy that we've been given, called an entire lifetime. In a lifetime, you're given all the energy that you basically need to attain whatever your purpose for incarnating is in this incarnation, to fulfill your soul purpose, to feel your reason for being here on the planet. You have that energy. But if you don't realize how to wisely use that energy to attain that, and you go off in riotous living, it's called. You remember the story of the prodigal son? And how the prodigal son left and went into a far country? And that far country was about this far, from one ear to the other ear. Yeah. Went into a different place in the mind in which it saw separation. And it believed that it had separated itself from the source, the Father, and had left the Father. But actually, it was in perception that it had moved into a state of separation. But it actually did not take place. So I'll show you in a minute. So after it went to this far country, it said it spent all that it had in riotous living. That means in unmindful living. That it wasn't in alignment. It wasn't in the dance of life, but it was using it unwisely. Much like any of us do or have done or will do when we get a little ahead and we get some extra money that we didn't expect, and all of a sudden we go out and blow that money instead of maybe use it for something that would have been profitable on many levels. That we didn't wisely invest into anything that was anyway meaningful whatsoever, because we're not a wise investor. So I'm here today to try to tell you that every one of you are investing the energy that you call God into the world. And therefore you're responsible, basically, how that you can do that. We tend to believe, again, that we're not good enough, we don't have enough. And then we end up feeling nothing you want in life ever happens. You ever had that about something? I pray, I meditate, I go to workshops, and yet nothing is happening that I want to happen. Woe is me. What is wrong with me? Now, when you say that, you're talking about self. What's wrong with me? Myself. When you're doing that, you're pulling energy out of your solar plex. Your solar plex is your energy center or chakra that has to do with self. Self-esteem, how you see yourself, your relationship with self. Now, when you pull energy out from that position in yourself, you're going to affect these tissues: stomach, pancreas, spleen, liver, adrenals, and digestive system. So where you are not keeping the energy there to keep these tissues that make up these organs alive and functioning well, and you start misusing that energy and depleting the energy from them, they go and leave a state called homeostasis, or they begin to be depleted or starving. And when they starve, oftentimes, out of desperation, they feed on themselves and each other. This is the beginning of what I believe is cancer in many, many areas. We've given it that name, but it is the process of energy depletion that is not reaching certain cells because we're financing that which is not true about ourselves. I'm in need, I'm lack, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. If you're financing those ideas and those thoughts, then that's where your energy is going, and it's being taken out of what's going to keep you healthy.
That's very true.
Yeah. Now, if you continue to do that, you call an imbalance, which ends up as ulcers, diabetes, hypoglycemic, and digestive disorders and gallstones. Now, we could go through each one of these, and I'd love to do it with you, but each one of these are attached to certain organs in your body that needs the right energy to be able to keep them from being depleted so that they can replicate their cells to keep in a state of homeostasis in a healthy state. So, British author J.K. Rowling, that you've heard of, wrote the first Harry Potter with little savings. But her most valuable investment was a great imagination. So you say, well, I really right now don't have a lot of money in the bank. There's not a lot I could really do to manifest what I want, and I'm a little limited with this and that and another. Where you're not limited is in your inner world. Imagination is a luxury. It's an abundance that has been given to you that does not have to be measured to the outside world of what you have and don't have. Her ability to paint pictures with words. Her vision of a fancy world of muggles, wizards, and dragons. Now, friends of her thought she would never make any money as a writer. Yet within 10 years, Rowland's Harry Potter brand, movies, books, merchandise is worth billions of dollars. A return on investment that dwarfed even those of the early shareholders of Microsoft. This is a great lesson for you to realize, and don't buy into, I'm not enough, I don't have enough, I don't have any great talent, I'm not ability to get up here and play and sing and speak or whatever it is, and therefore you shut yourself off from your really important spiritual assets that you do carry within you. Energetic investments don't stop at the initial transaction. They are a continuous commitment. When you commit to someone in a relationship, you energetically invest in them. You establish a cord between your heart and theirs. You've given them a direct pipeline to your essence. And I'm going to continue this next Sunday on energetic cords and how to break them next week. Energy is a power, and transmitting energy into the past by dwelling on painful events drains the power from your present day body and can lead to illness. Now you see why negative relationships will aid you. Take your health and make your whole world go dark. When you are in a negative relationship, the other person is siphoning your life force away, leaving you with little energy to make changes to change that relationship. So some of you that are in marriages and relationships, you need the energy and you love that person and you want to be in that relationship. You want to have enough energy in which to bring that relationship to a more healthy state. Now I would say to you, and to anyone, if you're in an abusive relationship, maybe you need the energy to get out of the relationship. Because there's a lot of people who don't have the energy to get out of an abusive relationship. I've seen it over and over as a minister and a counselor. How many people have come to me, unfortunately it's mostly women than men, who come for these matters, but to tell me, I need to get out of this relationship, but I can't get out. Because they have what I call a soul tie. You have to be careful who you are intimate with other people with. Every time you're with a person on an intimate sexual physical level, which is second chakra again, so sacral, is that you have to realize that at the point in which you meet each other energetically at the level of a climax, that your energy, soul energy, mixes with theirs, and you have given your power, energy away to that person. And I've tried to tell people the reason that you can't get out of an abusive relationship that you no longer want to be in is because there is a part of yourself, whether you're conscious of it or not, that doesn't want to leave yourself in that relationship. Just because you remove your body from the relationship doesn't mean you've not invested that part of yourself into that person. So you hold on to them to hold on to yourself. So you have to pull that circuit. My mother was an operator for Southwestern Bell Telephone, supervisor. And I used to go with her to work, and I loved it because back in those days they had those switchboards Oh my God, there was hundreds and thousands, I guess, of cords up there they were all doing and plugging and plugging. And that's the way I see. What we plug into, that's whose number we get. Remember that. Who your energy is plugged into, that is the energy channel that is coming back to you. You want to feed your energy, not deplete your energy. You want to choose wisely about those that you attach yourself to. You want to choose wisely about the thoughts that you choose to think or the story you want to tell yourself. You want to choose wisely about the fears you entertain. Again, you have been given a certain amount of energetic currency. Use it wisely. It's like mom and dad gave you your weekly allowance and you didn't want to spend it in one place. I did. I've never been one to save a lot of money because my parents, I think, were so much into that I rebelled in that way. I have a granddaughter just turned 19 this week, and she's second year in college, and I'm very impressed with her as a 19-year-old that she's working and saving her money. She's doing it right. And you don't see that with all teenagers and young people who have the foresight to see into the future and to learn how to save and to prepare themselves for the life that they want to be. And I feel like that we're somewhat like that at times, that we're just kind of floundering around in life, living moment to moment, and not really being mindful and aware of how that we are wisely investing ourselves. Use it wisely. Back to my idea of somebody writing me the check and it was insufficient fund. Let's say they win the lottery or they get a wonderful inheritance and they come back and rewrite that check and this time it goes through. I don't know about you, I bet there's things in your life that you'd like to see go through that's not. And again, I want to say it's not because some God's up there judging you or punishing you or not thinking you're good enough for all of this. It's just the fact that we don't know how to invest what has already been given to us. God, Creator, has given us all that we need to attain, all that we possibly can. If we can't, pretty soon we start feeling stuck. Are you investing in something that's depleting you? I've never seen a time that people don't have energy. I don't care what diet you're on. I don't care how many supplements you're on. That's not guarantee you're going to have abundance of energy. It's in this realm that we lack the most energy because we have given away our power and our energy to so many situations in our world today. So let's sit down today, this morning, and look at what you've invested in. You have to unplug from all the dead ends and deadbeats, and then plug into the good stuff, the stuff that will enhance you, allow you to grow. Figure out what story is playing in your head, and your heart and your spirit that you want to finance. Spiritually cleansing yourself, nourish your spirit by consulting with an energy practitioner. That could be a Reiki practitioner, a Soma energetics practitioner, and many other modalities that are sincere about working with the energy. We all need to be a part of that. And that's what we have done here through Gail, who has stepped up and offered everyone in this congregation free tunings. How many here has had a tuning with Gail? That's quite a few of you, and there's more I know that is planning to do that. By the way, Gail is going to be leaving for about a month to go get her stuff and move back here with us. So while I'm thinking of it, she's living over here and cleaning the building. So a month, I need some volunteers to step up. This is a little commercial side step here to do that. So we need to. I was going to put a sign-up sheet out there, but it'll take that long to sweep these floors and do that. So maybe if some of you that feel you're up to that would like to come over each week and just kind of take that place until she gets back would be well appreciated. Let Tim know or somebody know here. Conclusion is living from the flow. Investing soul currency is much powerful than just investing money. Your soul currency enables us to live from possibility rather than investing from fear and risk. Live from the open heart. We are able to share and to put ourselves in the flow of not only material prosperity, but also the deep fulfillment and inevitable right action that love produces. This is not so deep today, but it is a message of mindfulness. It is a message of consciousness. It is the ability of the authentic self to step out from this everyday self and reevaluate all of the investments that we make continuously every day. Our thoughts that we think, the people that we connect to, the environment that we're around. Again, I say to you, if I'm somewhere that I do not feel comfortable or I do not feel I'm in resonance with, oftentimes is telling me that that is not for me. And that's not judging the situation, it's just not a frequency match. And how much our lives could be totally so different if we could live more in energy, vibration, frequency with our environment and with our surroundings. I know there's people that come here, maybe they even leave or don't come back because we're not the frequency level for them. And that doesn't make us bad, it just makes us, we're in a certain place here and we draw a certain people that is at a certain place that is resonant with where we are as a community of people. And as I've said, now we've got 5 or more New Thought communities in Charlotte, and there's a lot of options that you can find that will fit where you need to be at that time. Doesn't make one right, one more wrong. It just means that we are different mini energetic shades of the same thing that can meet people where they are. So I ask you, even the colors that you choose, the clothes that you wear, all of that has an energetic effect upon your world and your life. So energy is a currency. I hope that you'll see it from that. And how are you going to spend your energy today? Be sure and spend it in a way that will give you back interest. That's what we're looking for. Investments that give us back interest. And therefore, invest in what you're interested in, and you'll get interest back.
Which leads us into offering.
That's where we're going. All right, thank you very much. I hope this makes some sense to you. And I want us to see a prosperous, blessed people. And again, we're not going to do that if we don't get more energy. You know, when we came here, this place was financially bankrupted. There was nothing. We was not making it. We was in debt, thousands of dollars when I took this over. And in less than, 6-7 months that we've been here, we actually have a savings and we're way ahead of things and we're building up a account. And because of that, you see what we can do when we have the money in the bank and we spend it wisely, which I think we've done and continue to do that we can do and manifest a lot of things because we have something to back it up.
That's right, God.
So you have a lot to back up in you that's been given to you as a child of this universe. You are a child of God. You have a birthright. You have an inheritance that has been given to you. Use it wisely. Use it mindfully. Thank you. All right, this is our offering, and I ask you to be mindful. This is your investment. Every Sunday we get up here and we prepare to invest in you through the music, through the messages, through the meditations, through all the things that we offer you. We have well prepared ourselves as the best we can to offer that to you. And now, to complete that circle of what we give, you give back to us. And you receive this as a community. We do want to stop and thank all of those who might be joining us through live streaming this morning. And we will appreciate your also support of this community. If you've been blessed by the message today, you can get on our website, and there you can send an offering, a love offering, if you would choose to do that. Thank you for being with us today.
Time to let your heart light shine. Time to let your heart light